Hi and welcome to my chess channel on YouTube. Thank you for visiting it. I really do appreciate it. So here we go. I have got two games today. So you might like to just watch the main game, or you might like to watch the second game as well, which is which I played on my cell phone, which I've shown 1,000 times on the. It feels like I've shown it 1,000 times on. It's not about my cell phone. It's not about me. But this, and when I say the word "but," it doesn't mean that I don't agree with what I just said. I'm saying that chess is not about me, but I really love the game. I think it's fantastic, and the friends I get from it are lifelong. I have more friends from chess than I do from that of my church, and the friends that I have from chess are lifelong. And so I have two games for you today. One, you know the players, who they are. You will know as soon as I mention who's white and who's black in this game encounter, or if your screen is big enough you can read what it says and where it's from. So I'm going to give you a clue now, because Andrew David McIntosh, not David Wegener, Andrew David McIntosh, who I consider a formidable opponent for anyone in New Zealand or Australia or anywhere, gave me this book. So this is going to be a clue of the sort of calibre of game that I show you today in this featured game, plus that of my FIDE Master win on the 12th of September on that cell phone that I've just shown you. So here is a book that Andrew David McIntosh gifted me, and I have proof, Andrew. I have proof because you've actually signed it and given me ownership. So just a wee bit of fun banter there. If you want to see who Andrew McIntosh is, you can see that from an interview that I gave him, or was it I was interviewing myself? I do check myself on that sort of thing, so please be aware of that. So I'm not saying I'm the best of the best, or I'm the best. Far from it. I'm just a good chess player, and I do actually relate to this book. And I think that when Andrew gave this book to me, he didn't just think, oh, I'll pull out a book out of the cupboard and give David a book because I think he's a really great pain or great guy or whatever, or he's one of my friends that I have to put up with when I stay with Andrew in Wellington. I won't say what suburb, but he pulled this book out of his book cupboard, possibly, which is quite a big book cupboard for chess books and other things too, even Christian books, which is our particular interest of chess subject as well. So he's one of my favourite friends. I'm not sure who my favourite is, but he's one of my favourite friends because we're lifelong, or since he was about 16, or since I was about 16, 17, he's been my friend since then, on and off. But we've never had any problems together, short of when he's asking me for money or something like that. I sort of try to run away because yeah. So here is this book, okay, that Andrew gifted me. Like I'm still saying, he gave this book to me out of the blue, and I appreciated it. And when I think about it, I think he actually had an idea of why he gave this book to me, and he inscribed it with, may the magic of, now I'm going to tell you, not we, now I am going to tell you, the person who's in this book primarily, featured throughout the whole book. May the magic of Tao rub off on you. Andrew McIntosh, January 2017, on my stay at from the Wellington suburb that Andrew lives in. So this is via the selected games of McIntosh, and here we go. Without further introduction, this is that book. This is selected games of chess games of McIntosh, Misha, or Tal the Terrible, or something like that. He was nicknamed as Tal the Terrible. Now, what I'm talking about, without giving much more detail, what I'm talking about is his forethought of giving me this book is, because I'll just, for the sakes of the camera, I will show the inscription from Andrew McIntosh that he says he's gifted it to me. But what I'm saying about this book, that he must have thought about what book to give me if he was going to give me a book, which is very much appreciated, of course. What he did was he gave me this book because I'm not saying I'm McIntosh by any means. In fact, quite the opposite, contrary, and all that sort of thing. But in this book, the game that I'm going to feature for you is Tao is black against none other than, we've got two world chess champions of different times playing each other. McIntosh is playing, what's his name now? World champion up till 1972 that was defeated by Bobby Fischer, is of course Mr. Boris Spassky, a fantastic chess player, absolutely, like a real chess player, a real chess player, because I consider myself just an imitator of these sorts of players, and as well as anyone else in all humility would do. So here we go. I've got the 25th championships of, and I'm still trying to finish what I'm trying to say. I've got the 25th championships of the USSR game, whatever game, I'm not sure, but this is between Spassky white and Tao black. And the thing is it speaks of Misha or McIntosh as being very, very good at lightning chess and hardly ever any trouble with his clock. And he was actually the same year the champion of Russia for, or USSR for, lightning chess that year, which would be 5-minute chess. And so I think that the next comment that it makes in this book here is that he was able to precede Misha. McIntosh was able to proceed with spectacular chess or very finite positional chess. So, and that was his weakness. And I think my friend Andrew has without speaking it out, sort of said, you like spectacular chess, but at the end of the day, you might have to be a bit careful, because not that I'm saying that he's saying that, Andrew, but that is sort of like, I don't want to be too long, that is sort of like considered by the writer of this book. I won't try to say his name. The writer of this book says that that was considered a weakness of McIntosh, but that's why we've got the brilliance and the magic of his touch to the game of chess, which we all frankly admire. So here, let's get on with this game. That's about the longest introduction I've had for a game thus far. So here I go. This is Spassky, and by the way, Tal is on 11.5 out of 70 points, leading the field with Petrosian, Tigran Petrosian. I think I've got that wrong, but anyway, let's go. So here we go. We're going to go down a Nimzo Indian, which is characterized by this move here, bishop b4. So white has e3, has queen c2, which would possibly be a Garry Kasparov move. Knight f3 if they like, other moves too. Not e4, because knight e4, as the red arrow shows, is good for black. Because in the Nimzo Indian, this square here, e4, as in other sort of Indian openings, is very, very important. Even with the Queen's Indian defense, the fight is on for this square here, e4. Okay, so white tries to stop black from controlling it, and white tries to control it themselves. So this is a very important square for Nimzo Indians and Queen's Indians. So that's why white is getting menaced on c3 knight with this bishop move to b4, which that's what is going on here. It might look like black just wants to take this knight and get rid of it, okay, but there's actually positional understanding of it. Not that I'm considered a positional player. There's actually positional attributes to this move, bishop b4, which is sort of like all to do with trying for black to control this e4 square, as is same in the Queen's Indian defense with b6, etc. And I've already had a word from my sponsor, that lovely bell thing going on in the background. So here, let's get on with this game. So now Boris Spassky plays primarily one of the main responses to black's third move, bishop b4, is a3. And so a typical is, do not play your bishop here, because you will get it biffed straight away by a reasonably good player for white with b4 and c5, and you will end up losing this bishop on b6 or c5 or whatever. So do not play bishop a5. Just take this or retreat, which can go into other lines, but I wouldn't suggest it. So here we've got bc3, and I don't have to do that with the mouse. c5. Now, and I want to say that out of the Batsford Guide to Chess Openings, I might just do one game today, because otherwise I'm going to be too long. Out of the Batsford Guide to Chess Openings, black, they suggest that black plays b6, bishop a6, knight c6, knight a5, and then if necessary to attack the c4 pawn. So that's quite a nice wee thing to know. If you want to play the Queen's Indian, the Nimzo Indian, if you want to play the Nimzo Indian, that's a reasonably easy plan to remember, because all you're doing is thinking, how can I attack that pawn on c4? Because it's weak, of course, once we play c5. Now, should white play dc5 here, okay, because I'm just trying to say, before I go any further, the plan is b6, bishop, which defends the c5 pawn, b6, bishop a6, knight a6, c6, knight a5, and then d6 and queen d7, queen a4, if possible, to attack this pawn 500,000 million times. So here, no good would be for white, even though it looks like they're winning a pawn, dc5. This would not do, and it doesn't look very nice either, does it? Because the pawns are they're tripled, not doubled. They're tripled, and so these will be easy pickings, especially in the endgame. But we probably don't have to go to the endgame to be able to pick these things off. One white would possibly be met with, let's say we just look at this, okay? We just have a look at a new variation. I don't really want to. And then we have 94 if we so wish, but it's not exactly great. We could have queen a5, and that attacks this pawn and that pawn. So we're not going to do this, computer. It's asking me to do this. I don't want to distract. So that would not be a good idea for white, even though it looks like they're winning a pawn. So e3 is the atypical move from the world chess champion, soon to be, I think, Boris Spassky. So knight c6, and if d5 now, then as previously mentioned, knight a5 and etc. can be black's plan, and starting to menace the pawn on c4. So here we have bishop d3. Okay, now I'm just going to play through these moves. n5. That's a move that I could actually say I would consider playing for black. But black has moved the pawn twice. But I'm not going to say anything wrong about Mr. McIntosh's play of chess. So here we have bishop b1, and then all of a sudden black starts to do what I've just mentioned about attacking the c pawn on c4 and forgetting about their pawn on e4. So knight g3, and now they say, before b6 they say, the book says castling and rook e8, but McIntosh has other thoughts here. So plays bishop a6 now, which realistically says, you take me, I take you. So f3, a wee bit of a surprise move, because if we're greedy, we might consider playing ef3, but we don't. We just now play bishop c4, and we're saying, well, we're not going to get too tactical, especially with who I'm playing here. So here comes knight f5. Now this has got devastating consequences if white is met with moves like pawn takes pawn or bishop d3, because now knight d6 would, if ef3, which is just my analysis, would lose this bishop at least to knight d6 and knight c4 check. Knight d6 check and knight c4 capture. Thank you for your words there, Mr. Whistle. Castling, of course. We're not going to leave that possibility for white to choose amongst a myriad of ideas for white. So here comes knight d6, and so here Misha plays bishop d3. And now we have bishop d3, cd3, and queen d3. You're playing the great McIntosh, or you're playing the great Boris Spassky. Who would you choose? If this was an interview question, who would you choose to play against that you would most not so badly? Anyway, we've got cd4 and cd4. So really, white's pawn formation is better. White has two pawn islands. One's an isolated pawn, but this is a collection, conglomerate or whatever, of 5 pawns on white's king side, queen side. and a knight on d6. So it looks quite, it doesn't look great for black, does it? But we're looking at black's point of view. So knight e8, go away please, or capture, as Heather would say. So knight f5 comes, and here comes d5. Black is saying, I'm going to be equal to the task. Knight a4. Now white has clearly ideas of bishop a3, which are quite embarrassing to McIntosh to be in. So now what does white get met with is this move here, knight d6. Now this looks like just either bishop here, which is no good because knight f5, I'm not completely sure, knight f5, and then we would have a typical tile move, queen h4 check, if bishop f8 and that sort of thing. But now Spassky plays knight d6, queen d6, and now the obvious move for white is bishop a3, and black plays knight b4 here. And I believe it's queen b3 and a5 only move. There's no other move here. Because if knight c2 check, then black would get met with queen c2, and probably even Tao would resign even against some of our players. But probably not. Probably Tao would play on. a5, castles, very sensible. No sort of crazy spectacular play from Tao, nothing like that. So here comes rook fc8, and this is just thinking of if rook a b1 to play rook c4 to protect the knight, and to make sure there's three things defending that knight on b4 when they've been attacked 3 times. So here comes rook c1, and here soon white wins the c file. Bishop b4, a b4, king f2, and now comes queen d6, h3, king f8, and this is where they say this is an accurate of black, of Tao, to play king f8. Now that's just all that's in it. There's nothing, it's hard for white, it's hard for black, to play this move because white doesn't have, black hasn't got that move here to c4 to gain control of the c file, because white can just take it and that sort of thing. Even though white can be met with rook a4 should that happen. But then we have queen c8 check and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, let's get on with this game. I'm just going to go through this game for your enjoyment, and then I'm going to show you the FIDE master game that I played on chess.com. So here we got king f8, rook c2. So as promised, this is going to give white the c file. Rook c2, queen c2. So now clearly rook c1 is going to be control of the c file, other than if black sticks their king to d7, etc. And I'm still not keeping to what I say. Okay, this is considered a very good move, and in the diagram I saw a queen and rook on the board for each player. So when I saw a queen swap, I thought, oh, this might not be the same game. I might have just jumped a page or something. So here comes b3, AB6, B2, and B7. Now, there's an opportunity for black to pick up this and then queen their pawn. Is there? No, because this pawn here, this square for the king, can move here. So let's just have a look at that for 1 second, because I haven't got much time to do that, have I? So then we have B8 queen, and then we've got king here, and then we've got queen takes pawn. Okay, so I've just said a whole lot of rubbish. We haven't got anything like that. There's no way for black to defend their B2 pawn if they take the rook in between trying to promote their pawn. So black is too late there. So black plays queen B1. And so now if rook takes A6, then of course black would then play queen takes pawn, check. Queen takes pawns on B7. So rook C8. Here comes a wee threat from white now, because they're going rook C8 and then they're going to go B8 queen, which is the only way to go forward here for Spassky. So here we have rook A2, of course, and king G3 and king H2, queen E3. Now we have an equal sort of a position, although black does get met with a myriad of checks from the great Boris Spassky. So here comes rook G8 and queen D6, queen E6, because we're not going to want to try and run our king here for black. I don't think so. If here, then we have immediately queen D5 check and queen takes rook on A2. So black plays queen E6, and now I think it's queen E4 from memory, king E7, only move. Oh no, sorry, it's not the only move. Queen F5 was played, and then I think it was queen D6 again, and this sort of thing. And now we'll just not repeat the position too often, because otherwise the computer will take over. Now I would have thought that black would play H5, but no. Rook E2. This is bringing the rook into defense of the king as well, because Spassky is purportedly getting annoyed with trying to checkmate black. So queen D6, queen E6, queen E4, queen F5. It's shortly now adjournment time, and so this is about when the adjournment happened, and so they're still going on. Now the thing is, there's now we might think that black can play queen F3, but that would not be I don't think that's going to be very good. So if we do this new variation, I think that this move would be quite good. King here, and now we have this check, okay? And now the king has to move off the E or F file, has to find a move. So if it goes here, then we've got queen D8 check, and we're going to try to find a situation for black to lose their rook on E1, E2, and all that sort of stuff. So it's typical. Sometimes I just get a day where I go over my time limit. I've gone over 30 minutes now, and so I'm aware of that. So please be aware of me, aware of that as well. So we can just almost just about go on a king hunt here, and let's just try and finish this idea off, is we would have this and queen takes rook. But I mean, I'm not saying that's the best play by any means, because it was my sort of analysis, really, wasn't it? So king e7 is what black played. Now here is probably a draw, but Spassky is trying to win this. Rook a8. And I mean, it's probably almost fair enough, but like once rook e2 happened, rook e6 was going to happen soon thereafter. King f5, only move. There's no other move. And now it looks, wow, we can win the rook, can't we? Because if we try to win this rook, say we go rook e8, okay, giving the king a flight square, of course, aren't we? Then we have simply this move here, queen g5, for black can now resign, because it's very sad, even though they're rook up, because king e6 and queen e5 is checkmate. So that will not do. That would be very embarrassing for the great Mishital to play. So he would have looked at this position and gone, oh yeah, okay, after queen h6 he would have smelt something. He might have thought, oh, I can take the rook. But that's no good. And queen takes, of course, the rook is met with queen g5. Sometimes it's very good to be just logical and clear and simple about it. So queen h8, king f5. So white could probably just repeat those moves again, but plays rook d8. Now black gets control of, I might be wrong, queen c6. I was wrong, because you can't play, David, queen e7 threatening queen h4 because of rook d5 check, so etc. So we now have, and then it's g3 checkmate soon thereafter for white to checkmate black. So you've got to be very, very careful, because here we've got a little bit of a turn of events now, because now white is getting pushed around with their king to queen d6. Now the tables have turned, as the book says also. Oh, ouch. So what does black do, white do now? Because obviously we're threatening the word that Judge Rinder loves in his courtroom, obviously. Queen g3 is threatened, and that's checkmate. So white does have to be expedient and plays f4, which is fair enough. Now black wriggles in with rook e1, and still have to be mindful of their king. Rook c2 and queen e6. Now we're doubled up the rooks, and I mean the rook and the queen. And also before this move, this is white's move that white is threatening here, which will be getting out of the wee bit of a tangle, and it might even be good for white after that. So rook e1 prevents that, and rook c2 and queen e6. Now at the end of the day, we can easily think about we can easily think about it's true and proper to be looking at this game and spending some time on it. So rook h1 check, and here comes queen e4, and so it's not long till the end, and rook f3, and now we have the devastating blow king g4. And so here's queen c8, the final move for black to play f5, and here is where the great Botvinnik, this was all about this sort of tournament, the great Spassky resigned here with. So just to finish that off, we will just switch on Fritz 11, and we will ask Fritz to move for white, black. Oh, ouch. That's so nice, isn't it? Because now white is threatened with rook g3 check. And the beauty of chess is that because of the pin of the rook to the king on g2 with the queen on e4, this is a big threat. Very, very nice, okay? So we will leave it at that. We'll just see what white thinks they should do, and rook g3. End of story. Now, for those who are patient, and thank you very much for your patience, but this is Spassky versus Tal, and a bit of an introduction to the book and all that sort of thing. This is my game that I played on the 12th of September on my cell phone. My opponent is FIDE Master, and my opponent is FIDE Master from Switzerland or Sweden. I think Sweden, because it's not the red and white flag. I think the one with a cross on it. I think I might be right with the Switzerland flag. So I think it's Sweden. So here we go. This is this game that I show you now, and I will show you it quickly with one exercise at the end. Now I say play e3. It's quite alright for white. It's not too bad. And guess what? After e5, I get a reverse French defense as white. So I play d4, and this is also the stonewall defense, and it's not particularly great. It's not the greatest moves for white to play, but it's easy to play. It's very easy to play them. You can even play this pre-move d4 on move 2. You can play that on your device as a pre-move in this opening. Even whatever black plays, you can play d4 against anything, as How to Cheat at Chess book says. You can play e3 and d4 straight away as a pre-move on what this is, chess.com. My opponent after this game was 22-17 or something thereabouts. So e4, e4, that gives you a clue. You can play all these moves almost blindfold. And my opponent, I feel, has strength and tightness and elasticity and strength of a rubber band play. I don't know what I'm talking about, but that's how I feel about my opponent. I can tell, if I didn't know any better, my opponent is a FIDE Master or a strong player, other than looking at their respective rating for Blitz 5-minute chess. So I play bishop e3. It's kind of, the whole position is, can't be too free and easy about it. For example here now, I think I expect queen b6 as white's hardest reply. I will turn the engine off, but I will ask the fits what they play. Queen b6. So I will go back and I will go, the move that was played is cd4, and now I turn the engine off so it doesn't take over. So here we go, cd4, this is actually a brevity. Knight b4, annoying, isn't it? Knight b4 threatening knight c2, and that's also forking the bishop as well as the rook on a1. So I have to take desperate measures of knight a3. Castling, good. Now black's just about completed their development, and I still yet have to do the same. But what do I play? g4, of course I do. You know, I've got to play this even though it's probably rubbish. Bishop e4, and now play g5, knight d7, and bishop g4. Now this looks like the horsey on d7 is in trouble because of this pin along this diagonal h3 to c8. But black, true to being their title, plays knight e5, shows no fear. And so do I take the rook on c8, yes or no? I have to make a judgment call. We often have to make judgment calls in chess. If I take the knight on e5 with the f pawn, I see bishop takes pawn on g5 is kind of quite feisty. So if I go f e5 here, I believe bishop g5 is quite feisty because white is threatened with bishop takes bishop on e3, check, and the resulting position is not great for white. And if I play bishop c8, then I'm not completely sure about the ramifications of whether or not white would be met with knight f3 check, or just queen c8 and having this bishop comparative to my bishop off being probably quite strong for black. So what do? I make a judgment call. I go, I'm not going to be greedy, so maybe I might learn something from the comment about McIntosh games. de5, and now I've got these pawns that are not the greatest, but they're also quite good because they prevent you know, they're quite strong for this apex on f6 for white, but the deficiencies of my position is this is a dark squared bishop, and these pawns are on e5, f4 and g5 respectively. So here we go, knight c2. So knight c2, anyone who's watching still, thank you very much, I appreciate it, but I understand if you don't watch it. Bishop c2, no, rook c2. So what would be the move you would play now? Is just clarification and not wanting to have devastation. We want clarification. We want to be a wee bit simple. We don't want to be spectacular, David. We want to play something a wee bit sensible and quiet, so we play rook f2. And this invites the following capture, etc. And I could take it with the king, but I don't think so really. So I play bishop f2, and now black does not play queen b6 because that would be no good. I would take the queen straight away, and I think I'm lucky. Queen a5, of course. So now what do I do now? Resign? Okay, I could resign. I don't go queen e4, I go again bishop f3. Now I'm swapping off my great bishop, because now I've got this thought in my mind. I go queen d7 here. So I think that if the computer was playing, the computer would probably play queen c7 or something like that, because obviously, again, that Judge Rinder word that he so much loves, obviously white is threatening queen takes rook, and if the rook moves off the back rank, then queen e8. So I'm not sure what the computer thinks of this position for black. Rook c7 is what my opponent played. And now I played queen e8. Now the only move is bishop f8, and now I played rook d1, and that's compliant with the computer move. Now what should black do now? e3. Okay, a wee bit better than what my opponent played, because that gives access to things. I think we will turn that off. So here my opponent instead played queen b4, and given that we're playing a FIDE master here, my opponent now played queen b4. What would be your next response for white? And then that is the end of this session, which is 50 minutes long. So thank you if you've watched this far. I really appreciate it. So what is the move against queen b4? There's not that move. My opponent played queen b4. And my move, of course, was what? Oh, hold on. What happened there? Yeah, so I don't know what happened there. I think that my opponent went rook c2 actually. Sorry. Something's happening with the game. I went rook d8. Oh, rook c2. New main line, which it is. Rook d8. And so now it's pretty well curtains really. But black has this move to defend the bishop on f8, other than giving up and playing h6, which I consider would be giving up. Not g6 of course, because of queen f8 checkmate. So black plays queen b4 as promised, in the position that I thought it was. And so here comes the end of the session, is a3, and my opponent resigned like a true sportsman, sportsperson, sports female lady or so. But it does say FM, doesn't say WFM. Thank you very much for watching this YouTube chess channel for you. I hope your chess gets better, no matter what your level is in chess. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.